confused, and I refuse to date someone who is constantly trash talking my city. Like, calm down, Cody. You're from Milwaukee. What's going on here?
You are better at this than I am.
Hey everybody, it's your girl E here with Native LA's ING in LA. Today's episode, dating in LA.
Off the bat.
Yeah.
Do you prefer dating natives or transplants?
Is that a real question?
It's 100% the question.
Okay. So when I was younger, I used to think that I was going to end up with a Southern man because I'm second generation Angelino. So, I've got family from the South, Texas and Louisiana. And then my dad's family is actually from the East Coast, New Jersey. So I always thought, I'm going to marry a Southern man. He's going to come and whisk me away and sweep me off and then it was just like, they're not, no. So long story short, I would say I definitely need a native. It's almost kind of how I feel like I have to date a black man. I have to date a native because nobody really understands the ins and outs of this fair city. No one really gets the nuances and no one really gets the things that make us, transplants tend to come here and hate everything that we do, and yet they don't leave. So I'm very confused, and I refuse to date someone who is constantly trash talking my city. Like, calm down, Cody. You're from Milwaukee. What's going on here?
I used to have this written on dating profiles back in the day, where if you're a transplant, then I apologize in advance for our first date. It's just really hard being across the table from someone who's directly responsible for raising your rent. Like, and I really do feel that. But at the same token, I actually have a better dating history with transplants than I do natives. It is, listen,
Traitor.
It's not even a traitor. It's, you mentioned that being able to date someone who has an intrinsic understanding of where you're from. I'm not going to say that it cancels out opportunity to get to know a different culture or to get to know someone else's interpretation of your culture and to be able to share and have that cross-cultural exchange. I can say that I have had better dating history with women from the Midwest and to some extension the East Coast than I've had with Native women. And it's not to say that I don't, LA Native women, to be specific. It's not by choice, to be honest with you. I can say that I may not fit into some of the 5 acceptable black male archetypes in Los Angeles, which is someone who plays like basketball or some kind of sports, someone who is industry adjacent, someone who has some kind of hood adjacency, somebody who is just super wealthy or has a lot of money, or someone who can use their looks or modeling to get into the club.
Most LA natives don't fit into any of those archetypes either, just so we're very clear.
But there is, I feel like there is an expectation of what LA people are. Like, I've been on dates, albeit they were transplants, but I've had people tell me that I don't feel like I'm from Los Angeles.
Right, because you're supposed to be an athlete or a movie star, and I'm supposed to be a supermodel.
I do feel like that particular dynamic does have it has its place here. I mean, you think about the implications of living in such proximity to Hollywood.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To live in the place where a veneer is more natural than a person's actual identity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you kind of are pigeonholed into kind of, at some point we all put on some kind of identity. Whether we take it off or whether we change it, we've all gone through phases where we, maybe you skateboarded or maybe you went through a goth phase or whatnot. Like,
guilty, yeah.
Right. So we do have the opportunity to try things on, but long-winded way to say that I've had better relationships with people who really, I guess, they really found me peculiar. Like, how did you grow up here and become what you are? Because I'm different.
You're the odd duck out here in the world.
I really am. If I was a little bit younger, I would probably been like in the Odd Future camp. You know what I'm saying? Like just LA weird. You know what I'm saying?
But I think that actually is a larger subset of LA culture than you're kind of giving yourself credit for. Even though I think calling people from LA or certain parts of LA weird is definitely taboo. But I think that there is a whole like blurred culture, a whole kind of just off the beaten path kind of sect of Los Angeles that I think, doesn't really get a lot of credit, honestly. And I would say that now, especially with the influx of like Silicon Valley, taking over Silicon Beach now, that there's now the sixth archetype of Los Angeles. And I feel like you fit now. You're one of us.
Nativ Collectiv takes pride in celebrating vibrant, authentic cultures and backgrounds that make LA truly unique.
So, you guys, I don't know how many times I've asked myself where I can find a group of cool, like-minded people in one place here in LA. Like, it was so easy when we were growing up, but it's gotten very hard. Like, where are all the natives at who know the true, authentic LA culture and vibe? And where do you go if you don't want to go to a club every weekend? If you're like me, then you're also tired of searching for a place that truly represents the diverse and like-minded crowd of this city. Well, we've got fantastic news for you. Say hello to Nativ Collectiv, the hottest, most exclusive private membership club founded by LA natives that's about to change the game. Nativ Collectiv is not just another club. It's a haven for all races, ages, and natives and transplants alike. But it especially encourages ambitious minority entrepreneurs, executives, influencers, and entertainers to come together, connect, and thrive. We've created a space where you can chill, celebrate your roots, share experiences, and amplify your success without limitations. Our flagship location is located in LA, of course, and is a statement. In the heart of this busy city, Nativ Collectiv will become the epicenter of social events, inspiration, creativity, and collaboration. Get ready to be part of something extraordinary. Nativ Collectiv is a platform for socializing, growth, and success. Surround yourself with like-minded individuals who understand your journey and are ready to support all of your endeavors. Don't miss the chance to be among the foundational members of Nativ Collectiv. Join our interest list today for an exclusive opportunity to enjoy early perks and benefits of memberships. Visit our website at nativcollectiv.com to secure your spot in this groundbreaking movement. Nativ Collectiv, empowering dreams together.
Follow us on social media at The Native LA and Nativ Collectiv to stay up to date on Nativ Collective's journey.
One of us.
I could agree with that. But it's also being at a time where I'm at a higher age where I don't necessarily get to benefit that much. Like I remember watching Rap Caviar on Hulu. They have a little thing, and the first episode was about Tyler, the Creator, and it really spoke about how he represented like LA counterculture,
right?
Like that not necessarily stereotypical view of what people in LA, especially young black and brown kids in LA, look like, and being able to identify with or understand just like the space for counterculture in a place where increasingly counterculture isn't as, I think the only counterculture that we really, really, really embrace is like weed smoking or maybe
right.
like, drug usage. Like that might be the only last non-perverted counterculture that we embrace. Everything else here is conformity. When you add the fact that the Hollywood aspect is now on our cell phones, where every facet of everything is recorded and you're always on.
Right.
What does it look like to always be on in a place where people are always on? Because the nature of the place is to be on. You don't see niggas going to kickbacks with their not crispest white t-shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You always got to be on.
Well, shout out to Tinashe because she was always too on.
Too on. But I also, just the way that I, for lack of a better term, like I'm not gonna say consume people, but the way that I enjoy, it's the exchange. The I would argue that dating is an exchange.
Of course.
You know what I'm saying? So being able to find the commonalities with somebody who isn't from where I'm from. Like my current girlfriend's from Chicago.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I have a certain understanding of levels of violence from a LA standpoint, growing up in Compton at a certain point, and even have that particular story so much a part of the LA history, especially musically, sonically, what have you. And her being from Chicago, which is a completely different kind of violence, which is a completely different kind of environment where they have more of a black-white binary, where we have more multiculturalism. Like these things, getting to know someone from a background who isn't like mine, but still ended up in a place that I am. Like there's something about that I appreciate. People are drawn here for many different reasons. And I like to believe that some people are drawn here for the reasons that are not stereotypical. Like you didn't move out here for In and Out, and you didn't move out here to become, you know what I'm saying, a star. Or maybe even to be by the beach. Maybe you just appreciate a place that has, if even a veneer, it's an aura of freedom and being who you want to be. So dating within that construct and dating within this market is interesting, especially when you think about who you're dating and what you're dating for.
Yeah, I think definitely we've had vastly different experiences in dating transplants. My ex is from the South, and I don't know that I can say that things didn't work out and he's a complete asshole because he's from the South. But I feel like there were certain things and certain aspects about me and who I am fundamentally that he didn't seem to quite grasp. Like, I'm very laid back and chill. There's very little that gets me riled up. I don't know if it's because we have this great weather most of the year. I don't know if it's because of the weed. I don't know, but it's just I'm very difficult to agitate. And I feel like part of him didn't like that, if that makes sense. It was like, get angrier, get upset when I'm doing these things, like show more emotion, or I don't know, it kind of made me feel like, is this going to be somebody that I have to change for to now suit your Southern ways? Am I going to have to shift who I am to kind of make you feel more comfortable within the confines of this relationship? Not that it was a big thing, but like there's just something about dating somebody from where you are that it's just fun. You guys can go on all sorts of adventures together, discover hidden gems around the city. You guys can teach each other different things about the city that you may not have known before. Somebody from Delaware can't do that for me. You know, what are they gonna point out for me?
But somebody from Delaware can appreciate you being able to show them. Somebody who's a transplant is going to be learning an LA culture that is palatable. It's where things are now. But are all the places that you go to eat, are they all places that have been long-standing since the 90s? Or have you discovered new spots that you may not have learned off of your particular circles? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I guess one of the things that we have to distinguish between when we talk about native and transplant is length of time here and what culture you kind of came into. You know,
true.
There's a context between the way that I would argue, or I would think, that the way that you think about LA and the way that you consider LA is distinctly different than somebody who maybe moved here within the last, we'll say 5, maybe 7 years. But that is influenced by the fact that there's a big cultural shift that happened since 2000. So you can't speak to one without speaking to the other, because the biggest enemy here is gentrification. You know what I'm saying? And what that did to... I enjoyed where LA felt like a city of neighbors. You know what I'm saying? And now it feels... People don't move into a neighborhood now to be a part of it. They move into the neighborhood because they can afford to be there.
Right. They want to drive everybody else out.
So in finding community, and also in dating, it's trying to find somebody... It's dating in itself is trying to find community. And with the onslaught, if you will, of people who are coming here from other places, are we seeking people who have values or interests that are more aligned with us because we don't have that many neighbors anymore? Like, you may be lucky to be able to find natives to date. They either genuinely... Maybe I just don't attract them. Maybe that's just... Or maybe I have a lust for a person with a different cultural orientation than I do. Not necessarily racial, but cultural. Someone who has my girlfriend's father is from Chicago, and I have a lot more in common with him than I would your Uncle Jerome type archetype here in LA, and it's just off top. It is that way.
Yeah. I think that it's really cool that you can have that experience. Because I'm always, as much as I love LA and I love my native men, I'm always encouraging y'all to like get out and see some shit. Like go travel to a place and go see a thing. I think at the end of the day, because even as much traveling as I've done, I still want to come home to an LA man as of today. I've also found that they've been more accepting of my marijuana usage because it's such a huge part of our culture. I think that it's easier for LA men to understand, like, she gonna be chiefing, and there's nothing I can do about that. Nothing at all.
I could actually see that. My girlfriend, she notoriously says I smoke mid, nothing higher than mid. Like I'm the pothead in the relationship, but she also went out drink me. You know what I'm saying? So that's a Chicago.
Chi-town in the house.
You know what I'm saying? Like, somebody 5'2" putting down bottles, like. Outside of the market and what we have to choose from as far as our dating palette, there's also, I feel like LA is one of those places where there's a multitude of relationship dynamics and relationship styles, ranging from your traditional, let's get a nice little one bedroom together and
shout out to monogamy.
Right. And people who put on furry costumes and meet up at hotels. Like, there's space for everything. So maybe we could talk about, the different relationship types. Maybe more so we'll keep it under the bracket of traditional relationship dynamics versus non-traditional relationship dynamics.
Okay, so I guess like someone like myself who is traditionally what we would consider monogamous. I am very much a one-man woman. I don't like to share. I don't even like sharing my french fries. I don't like sharing my food. I don't even want to give you a sip of water. I don't care if you are dehydrated. I do not share. I can't do it. And not that, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, ew, it's gross, ew, icky. I don't know, just that's how I am. And power to those of you who are, ethically non-monogamous?
That's a good term.
That's the term they use on the dating sites, on the apps.
To signify that I'm in my whole season. And,
yes.
I'm looking for something non-committal.
Or my girlfriend doesn't know that I'm here.
LA is an interesting place to date, and a lot of people, I would feel like a lot of people actually, maybe not in your circumstance where you are decidedly monogamous, not out of a fear or not out of a limitation. You didn't take up the cloth, or you made a choice. But I also think that there is a dating playground aspect to Los Angeles. It's also, you don't see any LA music videos where the rapper has one sexual interest of that evening.
Never.
You don't see situations where, it's almost an aesthetic where, it's, even if you're not really with them, they're with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You see that. But I do think that people have short-term relationships. I think people are, a little bit more, we happen to be in a left state. You know what I'm saying? And being in the left state comes with a degree of freedoms, but at the same token, it also comes with this air of being able to chase down any pleasure or any particular thing that you want. And there's a dissolution of being held to systems, especially systems that'll feel more right. You know what I'm saying? Or red, if you will. Relationship dynamics that would be, would bring people pause. And let's say Alabama we can argue that there's some relationship dynamics in Alabama that will bring us pause, but places that are in the Bible Belt that would look at this particular way. The culture in itself is heavily religious.
Right.
That informs a lot of the cultural context that you grow up, your cultural orientation. We don't necessarily have that here in Los Angeles, except for in instances where most of our parents come from somewhere else. Like everybody, we know who the true California natives are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we are not that. I would argue everybody unless you are the kind of transplant that, or if you are the kind of person who maybe came from a different country in your family, maybe second, third generation, you may be, here, but everyone came from the South or from the Midwest or from the East. So there's certain values that were brought here and you raised up on it. I grew up Southern Baptist in Compton, California. I grew up Southern Baptist on the West Coast. Like, I don't think the people down there that are practicing religion in the Southern Baptist context can see the beach. And yet I have to bring that particular dynamic and orientation here. So I think people who are a little bit more adventurous in their dating types are just fulfilling that California, or shall I say LA instinct and archetype to just do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why limit yourself to anything? If you live in a place where in the same day you could snowboard, surf, hike, you know what I'm saying? Why would I not want to?
You sound like the California tourism commercial right now. My guy, like, come to California.
Right? You could do it. You could do it all. And I think that attitude informs people's dating.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will say that I'm a person who is decidedly ethically non-monogamous and have been off and on for, I think, almost a decade.
Oh, wow.
Like I was introduced to it. I'll say this. As far as me growing up, I grew up, I didn't have a dad in the house, but I did have my grandfather. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather is from Kentucky.
Okay.
My grandmother from Louisiana. So I got that Southern upbringing. And if your example is somebody who's older and maybe a lot more Southern than you, the orientation towards dating is different. You think about dating for permanence.
Right.
This person who I am dating is someone who I have to make an honest woman out of, get my job at the Coca-Cola factory, and
ask her dad for her hand and all that good stuff.
You know what I'm saying? So we could save her for a Cadillac.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? This is that. Imagine having that as your only relationship compass, and then all of a sudden you enter into college in 2003. You know what I'm saying? Thinking that every woman that you meet is someone that you have to date in that regard. You don't even see, and you don't really see, as far as people who I would identify with on movies or television, them dating in that regard. You see them you see the Forrest Gumpification of dating. You find one woman who you are crazy about, and no matter what she out there doing, that is your one.
Yeah, she got that thing blown out, and Forrest was still like, my Jenny.
Seriously though, so that being my example growing up, I stayed in relationships that I maybe didn't need to stay in to the degree in which I did, because of the idea of what you're supposed to do in a relationship. Now, you could say that is based off of my upbringing and the example that I had, and maybe no one taught me the game, this, that, and the third. But it was an understanding that, okay, maybe this person isn't going to work. So 3 relationships in my 20s were relationships where I gave my all. And those relationships didn't work out. And you begin to approach 30, if you will, or maybe get past 25, 26, where you are looking at people who have already gotten married, you know, people who maybe follow your relationship dynamic or have levels of fulfillment in their relationships that I can't seem to grasp.
Right.
3 relationships in a row, I gave them all 2 years. So I go from being 18, all of a sudden, I'm like 24, 25, with nothing to show for it but the desire to smoke a lot of weed and almost Kevin Samuels level of disdain for not being able to have quote-unquote outcomes.
R.I.P. to the gods.
So then I after my last bad, lengthy relationship, I met somebody who introduced me to the concept of polyamory. And I was like, because when we started dating, she told me that she was really into me, and I liked her a lot, but I was like, you know what, I'm apprehensive. I don't want to jump into something. And she was like, well, you know that you could essentially have cake and eat it too. And I was like, word, I never heard of that. I never thought that could be a thing. I thought, the way I grew up, I thought that you had to be able to afford to do that.
Now, is there a difference between, let's say, like open dating and then being in an ethically non-monogamous relationship?
I think it has a lot to do with communication.
Okay.
I think it has a lot to do with the expectation that you have with your partners or the people that you're dating. If you and I, or if you and a person are casually dating, you can. There's a conversation that is had that sets parameters for a relationship, because when the transition happens between somebody that you fucking on and somebody that you really want to fuck with.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So when you get to that point, I would imagine that as adults you would have conversations. Now, we do live in a society where ownership weirdly plays its way into relationships. So owning a person and having a person being exclusively yours is something that is very prominent in our dating culture. But there are people who don't necessarily want to limit the people that they have intimate relationships with. And intimacy is not always necessarily sexual.
Right.
And that is something that people kind of misconstrue with people who date a lot. Is if you and I decidedly become friends, then there's always going to be a cap of what dynamic we can have because of that parameter.
Right.
Versus people like me who like the ability to play with that, to experience that, to see what it is. I don't like not knowing shit. You know what I'm saying? So
no surprises for you.
You know what I'm saying? So I would hate to be friends with somebody and you have that long-standing tension where like, oh man, what could it have been? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Versus seeing it. There's people who I've dated who are friends now.
Yeah.
People who I've gone on dates with who actually become, buddies of mine, like someone who I consider friends, versus people who I've dated or tried to date, like, you know what, I'm not really feeling you.
Right.
But it is a freedom to explore and experience people to the degree that you want to. Some people don't have some people don't have it within themselves to be open to a lot of different people.
Right.
In that regard. A lot of people don't want to be known in that kind of way. And there's respect and power to that.
Right.
But there genuinely are people out there who are very communal, very,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
The idea of being tied down to like one situation, not necessarily a person, because I totally dislike that whole person ownership thing. It's very icky. It's like, no, that's my man.
I mean, okay, so I know that you are decidedly monogamous, but do you have any, I'll say, what is your main gripe or I wouldn't say issue, but what turns you off from the non-traditional relationship dynamics?
I think because I'm so against sharing that I don't, like you said, you don't like not knowing what's happening. I don't like not knowing what's happening either. And if I'm monogamous or, if I'm with someone, I don't like not knowing, are you with, your other partner? Are you, with somebody else? And that comes back down to the communication aspect of it and the conversational aspect of it. But at the same time, like, I don't like not knowing what y'all doing. Like, even if we have an understanding that, we're in this situation together, I think that there's like part of me that's, dare I say, jealous. But I'm just like, nah, I don't want, like, why are you going to the movies with her? Like, why couldn't I go to the movies? I wanted to see Barbie too.
You say that you don't like not knowing. What if I told you that you could ask?
Well, of course I'm gonna ask. Trust and believe that. But because I'm not there physically, there's always going to be some little part of my mind. And forgive me, because people out there may not understand how my brain works. It only takes the tiniest little seedling of a thought to get planted in there, and then it just goes crazy. So it's like, I could ask and you could tell me, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, what if y'all meet somebody while y'all are out? And now we got to possibly have a discussion about having another partner. It's just, it's a lot of variables. It's a lot of moving parts for me. And I think it's a lot for me to try to keep up with. And I think it kind of goes back to, for me, the reason I don't cheat. I mean, aside from me just being an honest woman and being a great person, I don't have the energy, man. One healthy relationship for me is enough time and energy, and I'm happy with making that work.
I respect that. I'm not built that way.
I feel you. I get it.
I have one relationship that is my primary relationship.
Right.
This is my person. This is my everything. But then there's also that wandering eye that I have that is in alignment with the way that I'm expressive.
Right.
I don't think, let's say, you have more than one friend. And you may be a different person to one friend than you. Maybe one friend is the person that's like, I'm ready to do everything. Let's hit the club. Let's hit the bar. Let's book the tickets. Let's book the trip. You might have the other friend that's more of the, man, I'm ready to sit on the couch and binge watch this season of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You are, arguably you are one person, but you are different to every person that you're with. And I think the part that I enjoy about the freedom, I wouldn't even say the practice, but the freedom to explore the depths of a relationship where it goes, is I like to understand what that brings out of me. Every engagement with every different person helps me learn myself a little bit more. And maybe it could be me using something as trivial as serial dating to get that qualitative data that I need to be able to understand who I am, and I'm aggregating information to understand who I am and dealing with people. So
it's research.
Yeah, I mean, isn't dating research? Aren't you looking to see what qualities you do like and don't like, and what dynamics you do favor and don't favor? You do all of it to get to a knowingness of yourself to pick a good partner. What if I can pick and gather from people who are looking for something as transactional or as casual or maybe as fleeting or as trivial as they choose, and still be able to have that, learn about myself, experience something that's fun to whatever capacity, and be able to walk away from it when it gets to that at a degree where nobody is hurt.
Now, would you say, or what would you say, rather, if there are any, would be a downside to living an ethically non-monogamous lifestyle?
It can. I'll say this. I am a big proponent for dating sites. And the pandemic kind of got those worlds fucked up.
Oh, my goodness.
Because when you have a lack of in-person dating, everybody named mama got on every site to make every profile to... So it's, there's a transactional nature towards dating. We got Tinder, we got your OkCupids and whatnot. It's really taking the time to meet worthwhile people.
Right.
Like, I'm a lot older now. I'm in my upper 30s. I'm above 35. You know what I'm saying? So what it is that I'm looking to experience, what it is that I'm looking to have with somebody looks different than when I was just being a hoe with ethics. You know what I'm saying? So
ethical hoeing is important.
It is. My philosophy is I don't want anyone to leave a intimate relationship with me any worse than they were when they entered it.
You don't want anyone having to heal from you.
No, not at all. So even with that level of, I don't like the transactional nature of things. And if it is, it needs to be upfront. But if it's transactional not even ethical, in an honest way. Hey, one of my favorite things to tell somebody, I just want to get to know you.
Right.
And coming from me, it's not a line. It is a true statement. And that level of authenticity is sometimes attractive to people, is charming to people. Who doesn't want someone to take the time to get to... if I fuck with you, I study you.
Right.
100%. And it's not even just on some obsessive stuff. That's just the way my mind works.
Right.
I like getting to know people. I'm great at birthday presents. You know what I'm saying? Because I like to know
September 26th. It's coming.
It's saved on my calendar. But being able to know somebody, and maybe the gift that I get you doesn't cost this much, but it shows a intentional level of listening.
It's thoughtful.
It's very thoughtful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's actually missing a lot in dating, whether it's monogamous or not. I think that the level of care and thoughtfulness is definitely absent from a lot of that.
Well, I mean, it is, because I don't think no one's really thinking of anybody but themselves these days.
Right.
I think everybody wants to be single with relationship perks. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants to be in a relationship unless you want to be in a relationship. But a lot of people don't feel, I would argue a lot of people don't feel like they're ready to be in a relationship, especially when the relationships that you see are relationships that look what you see the front side of the relationships,
right.
the parts that are displayed,
the aesthetic part of it.
You see that, and a lot of people haven't been trained to know the work of a relationship. I spoke to earlier that I grew up in a household where my mom was a single mom. My father figure was my grandfather.
Right.
So think about how a lot of people don't have those classic Southern 2-parent households, because down there you have to make it work by necessity, because there's not that many jobs. We live in a place that has its problems but also has its benefits.
Right.
But these things are all intersectional and kind of leads to who we are as people in this dating market. Like, what is dating in this economy? What is dating in LA in this economy?
A mess.
You want to go out for coffee? Coffee is $7
at least, yeah. And that's not even including the gas it took for you to get to the coffee place that's halfway between you and whoever you're trying to meet, and then the time. You got to factor in the time, the gas home, and then was it even worth it?
Was it? Could you have stayed home and had a V8? Could that have been it? It's what dating in LA is. It's an interesting bargain shopping type of thing. You're trying to get as much bang for your buck.
We're all down at the market just trying to trade these seashells in for whatever you got for the day, please.
Do you think would you say that dating in LA is harder than dating in other cities? Either by experience or by assumption.
I would say, I think a lot of people, and this comes back to the whole native versus transplant, I think that the transplants find it significantly harder than we do to date out here, but I think that's because they come out here not really knowing anything. It's like you come out here with a backpack and a dream, and you think you're just going to automatically fit in, and it's just like,
Now you're getting stood up at a restaurant.
Yeah, but you don't understand. It's like, probably not even standing you up. We're probably just stuck in traffic, True
that.
Or, we ran out of gas, or, we probably stopped at Albertsons to get you some flowers or some shit. Like, there's a lot of factors, that play into it. But I think that ultimately, I would argue that it's harder to date in cities where it snows and it's cold. Ask your girlfriend if it was hard dating in Chicago.
It probably was, because you're going to make that decision. Listen, cuddling with me is cheaper than a high heat.
Listen,
you know what I'm saying?
How you going to shovel out snow to make it to your date?
I think people in those cities make decisions out of weather components, and we make decisions out of rent. Like, how many relationships are going on with people who don't belong together but need to split that $18.75?
That's not a roommate. That's not a relationship. That's a roommate.
100%.
You dating your roommate. That's real cute.
A roommate with benefits.
That is real cute.
Hence, ethical knowledge. As far as is dating in LA different? I just think. I think everything in LA is different. And it's just because LA is it's such an interesting place. But also dating in hood LA looks different than dating in Hollywood.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which looks different than
dating in Long Beach, dating in the Valley.
Yes.
It's all so just, what? This is all within a 20-mile radius? This is crazy.
You date in accordance to the population that's around you. And, social dating, the little dating apps, give you the opportunity to you pick a radius, but you still get...
It's always going to be 15 minutes away. If you live 20 minutes or further, this is just not meant to be.
But you're not looking for... I think it's speedy. I think it's a fast way to try to... I'd rather use my phone's data plan and Wi-Fi to build rapport and to see how I feel about you and to have to go out with a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, it's a time saver for sure.
100%, because you need that time. You spend all your dating time on the 405, so
exactly.
you have to be efficient with it.
Now, did you meet your girlfriend on a dating app?
I did. I met her on OkCupid.
Okay. Cupid.
And I I like Tinder was good for a while, but I like dating sites that allow you to be. I'm very like good with the way I describe myself.
Okay.
And I'm really good at like selling myself on dating apps. So much that you know exactly what you're getting into to a degree, enough to pull you in, enough to build intrigue, and the conversation goes. I do pretty good off a conversation alone. So it's a really good way to see who enjoys what you're putting down.
Right.
And it also my girlfriend my now girlfriend almost unmatched me because when we did match, I took a couple of days before I responded. But that's just.
Now, did you tell yourself, like, I have to pace this out? I can't respond immediately.
No, we matched when I was, doom scrolling. It was also doom swiping.
Oh, no, okay.
You're not really, you just.
Yes.
You watching Harley Quinn, but also pretty face, not so much. Like, I would say that I didn't read every profile that I swiped on, but I remember reading hers and enjoying it. And then when she matched back, I didn't necessarily know what to say. Which was rare for me, but it was also because like she made the first move and it threw me off. Like Chicago girl, so it's I think you're cute. Like by God, yeah. So I left her on red for 2 days because I already know how to talk to somebody down forward. But
y'all ain't shit.
I never claimed to be, but nah, it's I've also met people like like sparking conversations with people, and if you have a particular open energy about yourself,
right,
and not necessarily just an open energy as far as like, I'm trying to smash, but like I just want to talk to you. You know what I'm saying?
Very Kevin Campbell of you.
Mm-hmm. I think I've evolved to being a good typer, like a good type flirter. My textual relation game is on point. Like you meet somebody at a kickback or at Leimert Park or something like that. You have a conversation. Conversation can lead to getting an Instagram handle. Instagram handle gives you a chance to aggregate data about interest and what they like. You slide into the DMs when you have the conversation. Now you have rapport. Now you're talking about interests. Now you are able to ask this person from an informed place, hey, you want to go hang out in this capacity. It's so specific. It's not generic.
Yeah.
It would yield a better result. Just having that chance to. I'm a slow burn person. I say I'm a slow burn person with an explosive personality. Like when we get there, we there. But I give you enough time to kind of understand what you're getting into before you get it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, like be prepared to date somebody who talks a lot more.
That's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say, or would you say that your girlfriend currently, her expectations of your relationship or what she wanted out of a relationship vary from what the native LA women's expectations are?
I would say in my instance, yes. For example, her father is someone who, worked for the post office and would take the train from where he lived on the outskirts of Chicago into downtown to be able to have this job. Excuse me. I am someone who also works for the city that I live in, and I'm someone who is a proponent for taking the train from where I live because it's so adjacent and it saves money to downtown. There's a certain understanding that she has in the value of that. You know what I'm saying? That comes from, and it's informed by her experience with her father, her experience in seeing what men there did for a living versus the attitude and perception of people who come to LA. Like, you come out here to make it. You come out here to do something.
Right.
Everybody's favorite profession in LA is like, I do shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and what space is there for someone who's not really doing shit? You know what I'm saying? Besides the shit that he's doing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And she understood that. Now, at the top of our conversation, we talked about how I don't have that much of luck, if you will, with dating women in Los Angeles or who are natives.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that has a lot to do with the cultural orientation about what people expect. We have a very, not to the degree of New York, we have a very like go get it mentality, a hustle mentality. This is why hood LA rallies behind the Raiders. It's like, oh, you got something I want, I'm gonna go take it. You know what I'm saying?
Do they still?
Well,
Raiders still?
At a certain point, we'll say like in the 90s, kind of like how the Clippers and the Lakers represent two different LAs.
Yes,
the Rams
okay.
and the Raiders represent two different LAs at a time.
Gotcha.
You didn't really see Ice Cube and them wearing Rams hats. They was wearing Raiders hats.
Shame on them.
But it speaks to a culture of go getting it, like of hustling to a degree.
Right.
What of a person who may not necessarily be on that kind of tempo and speed? If I'm a very much take my time, slow burn kind of person, I need somebody who appreciates that.
Right.
A lot of people out here who date have an expectation for dating to look like it does on TV shows and movies that portray Los Angeles versus reflect that people have normal jobs,
right.
that people have different levels of success, if you will.
Right. So women out here, for the most part, from what you've experienced, would not date like a bus driver or a city worker or a county worker or a blue-collared individual.
Depends on their value system. You know what I'm saying? We talk, every individual has a value system, but there's also the social societal pressure of a culture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's, people are taught to choose up. People are taught to be selective. People have the ability to initiate threesomes from apps. You know what I'm saying? You can search for a partner as casually as flipping a magazine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that
order milk and dick at the same time on your phone.
100%. Who gets there first, the DoorDash or
the
Uber?
Dick Dash?
Would you say that men have an unfair advantage dating in Los Angeles over women?
Y'all got an unfair advantage dating everywhere, I would say. I think that, women have to try harder to try to appeal to a smaller group of people. The competition is stiffer, I think, for us, even though men would probably argue that, like, women are the choosers. You guys are the ones that we all do it for you. But I think that there is a certain power in that men have when it comes to dating, because as much as, there is power in the PUSSY for sure, and I think women really need to kind of get back to reclaiming that. Mm-hmm. But I think that you guys have it way easier. You guys don't have to worry about things like BBLs and fake tits and lashes and wigs and natural hairstyles and lipstick and you guys go get a fresh cut, throw on some gray sweats, and it's a wrap.
If you're over 5'7".
Yes. Yes. If you're not, then just have some stacks of money you can stand on, and chances are we'll see you. Shout out to the short kings of the world.
I would feel like nobody. Every system has some level of patriarchy that influences it. So I can say that dating has its own. There's impacts in dating as far as that's concerned. But I think it goes both ways. You don't think that women out here are also aesthetically driven? You know what I'm saying? You're not going to try
by less than men are, for sure, I would say. Like, women are drawn to height. You could be an ugly nigga, but if you tall, like, listen, I've seen height take men a long, long way.
Or a beard.
Yes. So, or smelling good. It really doesn't take a lot on your part. But like I said, you guys aren't going under I take it back, because now there are some kings that are going under the knife for women. But please know, we didn't ask for this. I stand at 6'2", and I did not ask you to go slice your legs open just so you get 2 more inches. Bro, like, put lifts in your shoes, or just get where do they sell confidence at? That's what you should have gone to look for instead of some legs, okay? We don't care about none of that.
If going under the knife was a result of how unrealistic beauty standards were put on people, would you argue that the music that is created kind of gives men that level of not being confident? Like, do you feel like DJ Khaled should have the amount of confidence that he has, or do we have a system that
I don't know who is hyping Khaled. I don't know who is in that
He's
man
hyping
circle.
himself.
I mean, he the best. Like yes. I mean, I feel like everyone should walk around with DJ Khaled levels of self-confidence.
I don't agree. DJ Khaled.
More people, not everyone.
Oh yeah, DJ Khaled thinks he is such the catch that he won't eat pussy.
It's delusion.
Right, off top.
But he got married and had a kid with a woman, like, who... I'm sorry, I ain't marrying no nigga that's not eating pussy. It's not happening.
He was probably capping. It's probably just...
He's
probably capping.
He's just doing it for clout. Because he keeps making the same music over and over.
You think we ain't noticed?
He's been giving us the same song for 5 years.
And the sad part about it is that we keep
bumping it. What is wrong with us?
Well, when you do meet people in LA, where are you meeting them?
Well, before my relationship, wherever. Because, I mean, you have to remember that the world was shut down for, 3-4 years for a while. So it was like, oh, I can kind of meet you at the gym, but I don't know what you look like underneath your eyelids. So, or, everything was closed. So I can maybe go to the grocery store with the mask on. But you got to remember, everybody was covering 2/3 of their face. The important 2/3 too. Like, you can have some sultry ass eyes, but what is all of this doing?
That's true.
Because let me meet a man. It would just be my luck if I met a man and he's like 6'8", just chocolatey, beautiful. Low-key describing my man now, except for the height. But I didn't know that underneath that N95, there was like no facial hair. Or there's like a cop mustache. Or like some really weird thin penciled goatee or something. You know, like...
I have a question. Do you approach the men that you find attractive?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I have approached men since the dawn of time. Let me tell you that. I was told, however, that, I mean, obviously a lot of men have grown since this time, but I was told that it was aggressive and it wasn't appreciated. And I think that a lot of that had to do with my size, because if I had been 5'2", coming up to you, telling you that I think that you're attractive, then it would have been like, ooh, hee.
Yeah.
But because I'm 6'2", and I'm coming up to you telling you that I think you're attractive, you suddenly feel threatened, emasculated, and then it's like, you know what? This isn't the type of man I need to be hitting on anyway. So thank you. Saved us both a lot of pain and heartache there.
That, yeah, I can see that. I applaud you for being one of the people who can actually walk up and have a conversation. It's a lot of pressure to have to think about how to go get someone's attention, especially when the parameters of consent change every time one of our superstars makes an error.
Listen, I feel bad for men in the fact that you can't even say hi to a woman now without it being like harassment. It's just like, no, not everybody is trying to get at everybody. You know what I mean?
This is very true. It makes talking to people in the workplace, like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be, can you maybe suggest to my coworker that her blouse looks really nice today?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like, hey, Carol, could you let Susan know that I'm really appreciating her casual work attire on this fine day?
Do you feel like you would meet someone better at like going out to like a bar or club, or someone that you met at a kickback?
I would say it depends on what kind of experience the person is looking for, because I'm very multifaceted when I go out. I'm also an extroverted introvert. So I like being around people, but I like being around certain people. So it just really depends. But I would thrive in either of those situations and can meet people really anywhere.
I like being put in situations where there are people who maybe I like meeting my people when I'm out. Yeah. Because I feel like people that I meet at kickbacks, I meet them through other people. Right. So there's some level of familiarity versus meeting someone just
raw dogging it out there
and seeing if I got the riz to be able to pull that person. But yes, this is a good conversation on dating in LA.
It's been illuminating.
I feel like you didn't get down my throat like you have about the subject in some places.
Giggity.
And I appreciate you stalling me out on camera.
I was trying to be nice. I was trying to keep it polite, keep it professional. Well, thanks so much for joining us for episode 2 of Native LA's ING in LA. I'm Erin.
And I'm Tony.
Aaron.
I'm E.